have left their mark on Cougar history. Gifford Nielsen was the first to throw for over 3,000 yards. Mark Wilson had 29 touchdown passes in 1979. Jim McMahon set NCAA records for passing yardage and touchdown passes. Steve Young completed 71% of his passes last year and caught the winning touchdown pass in last year's Holiday Bowl. And yet only Robbie Bosco can do something that his predecessors couldn't, and that's taking BYU to a national championship. But Bo Schembechler's Michigan Wolverines have other ideas as they try to derail the BYU Express in tonight's Holiday Bowl. The following is a college football presentation of Television Sports USA, the Mizlou Television Network. From Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California, we welcome you to the 1984 Holiday Bowl, where the nation's #1 college football team could be crowned tonight. The University of Michigan Wolverines will be attempting to prevent the Cougars of Brigham Young University from becoming the nation's #1 football team right here at the Holiday Bowl. A battle for #1. Tonight's Holiday Bowl is being brought to you by your Toyota dealer and the unique 1985 Toyota van. It's a whole new movement changing the world of vans. By the U.S. Armed Forces. It's a great place to start. And by the Norelco Rotatrack, the razors that challenge the world from Norelco.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium. We have a matchup tonight, BYU versus Michigan. I'm Mike Smith, working with me on the sidelines, Greg Wyatt, and I guess the big question coming in is that #1 ranking of BYU.
You and I have seen all these games here at San Diego Stadium, but we've got media from all over the country that's never been to San Diego Stadium for a game like this. BYU has won 12 straight this year, 23 straight over 2 years. It's very difficult to argue with that record.
Well, we'll find out in the next 3 hours just how good the Cougars are. Handling the play-by-play tonight, veteran sportscaster Howard David, and with him in the booth, the former Georgia linebacker and punter Paul McGuire.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Much has been said about BYU's offense, but Lavelle Edwards today in a meeting wanted to talk about his defense.
Isn't that amazing? We spent the better part of an hour with Lavelle Edwards, and all he did was talk about defense. He said since he's been at BYU, this is probably the best defense that he's had. He's had some better individual players, but as a unit, as a group, he said this team is by far the best he's had.
Speaking of defense, the Wolverines have been nicked up this year. They have not had 2 games in a row where their defense was intact. Toughest team to score out of the Big Ten. We'll match up BYU and Michigan as the nation watches for #1 in just a moment. Alex, you better be drinking your water.
Strolls and stroll like fire blue.
This is Dwayne Dow in the Mizlou Sports Bureau with the Holiday Bowl matchup. Brought to you by the U.S. Armed Forces. It's a great place to start. Well, here we are with #1 ranked Brigham Young taking on Michigan. The Brigham Young Cougars, coached by Lavelle Edwards, no strangers on our Mizlou Bowl telecast over recent years. And a mighty challenge tonight posed by Bo Schembechler's Michigan Wolverines. So let's right now take a look at that matchup in the Holiday Bowl. All right, Michigan under head coach Bo Schembechler. Tough to score on because of defensive captain Mike Mallory, Michigan's most valuable player. Mallory leads the Wolverines in tackles with 140. Senior defensive tackle Kevin Brooks, another first-team All-Big Ten player, leading the Wolverines in tackles for loss with 13. Senior outside linebacker Rodney Lyles, big, long, gangly fellow, opened the season with 3 interceptions against Miami. Junior defensive back Brad Cochran shares the team lead in interceptions with 4. He brought one back 49 yards against Illinois. Fifth-year senior Bob Bergeron leads Michigan in scoring with 55 points and kicked a 52-yard school record field goal. The quarterback, sophomore Chris Zerbrug, subbing for injured starter Jim Harbaugh. Zerbrug has completed 57% of his throws. Now, the Brigham Young Cougars, Michigan's foe tonight in the Holiday Bowl, nationally ranked #1 with an offense that again is #1 in the nation in passing and in total offense, and a defense that is 10th best against the score. The #1 ranked team, quarterback Robbie Bosco, took over from All-American Steve Young and led the nation in total offense. He threw for 33 touchdowns, finishing 3rd in the Heisman Trophy balloting. His favorite targets, tight end Dave Mills, the team leader with 60 catches and 7 touchdowns. Wide receiver Glenn Kozlowski, who caught 55 passes, 11 touchdowns. Running back Lekai Hayamoli carried for nearly 800 yards and also caught 31 passes. Kelly Smith had 350 yards rushing and caught 46 passes. The goal line stand was commonplace for the Brigham Young defense led by first-team All-American safety Kyle Morrell, rugged defensive end Jim Herman, junior linebacker Leon White, who was a second-team All-American. They all had major roles as Brigham Young extended its winning streak to 23 victories in a row. So that's a look at tonight's Holiday Bowl matchup. Brigham Young, #1 team in the nation.
View from the Goodyear Blimp Columbia, based in Carson, California, with pilot Nick Nicolari from El Toro, California, and our cameraman Don. Stay of winter, and yet in Southern California, the temperature is 58 degrees. Relatively clear skies. You get a look at Robbie Bosco, the starting quarterback for the Brigham Young Cougars, and hello, Santa Claus. That's interesting ways to enter a stadium, Santa Claus. I thought he used the reindeer and sled. What, did he get away with that?
No snow here. Remember, no snow here.
Team billed as the national championship game, primarily because of this man, Robbie Bosco, against the Michigan defense. That seems to be the storyline of the ball game. Can Michigan hold Bosco out of the end zone long enough to keep Michigan? Look at Glenn E. Bo Schembechler, the head football coach for the Wolverines of Michigan. And their starting quarterback, Chris Zerbrugg. He was third-team quarterback at the beginning of the season, but injuries necessitated his move to #1. In that their 6-5 record normally wouldn't warrant a national championship game. But don't underestimate the Wolverines. A 6-5 record, and yet they have played 7 bowl-bound football teams.
I think the interesting thing about Michigan playing BYU, Howard, is the fact that they have a chance, and you can't tell Michigan they're not a good football team because at 6-5. They have a chance to knock off the #1 team in the nation, and there's no other team here.
Miss Holiday Bowl of 1983. The referees for tonight's game is Wendell Shelton of McKinney, Texas. The umpire, Bill Voss from Abilene. The linesman, Bobby Ratliff of Hearst, Texas. Line judge, Bobby Baker of Garland. The field judge is Mike Wetzel of Austin. And the back judge is Larry Weeks of Waco, Texas. They are all Southwest Conference officials. All the ballyhoo this week, Paul McGuire, about whether or not Brigham Young is indeed #1. We have talked about it at length throughout the entire week, and so the members of the media. And by the way, this is the largest turnout of media members in the history of the Holiday Bowl. Should Brigham Young be #1?
They win this football game, and I don't care if they win by 1 point or 30 points. They're still #1, the only undefeated.
Those are Clay Miller and John Elliott, the guards. Bob Tabashino and Mark Hammerstein. And the center is Art Walodis. Starting quarterback Chris Zerbrugg, the fullback Bob Perryman, the tailback Rick Rogers, who's been injured this year, Triando Markray, the flanker Vince Bean, watch him, the split end Mizlou Edwards Cougars. They are 12-0 on the season, a record of 23. The younger brother of Joe Morris, the running back for the New York Giant football team, and Morris watches it go through the end zone. They'll bring it out to the Perryman and Rogers, the setbacks behind the quarterback Chris Zerbrugg. Vince Bean comes in motion from left to right. It is Rogers who gets the bread.
I was just saying, if this team ever stayed healthy all year long, you wonder what Michigan would have done.
Twin receivers to the left side, Jokish and Bean. Third down play coming up, 3rd and 2 Michigan. As we enter the 2nd minute of play, first quarter. Michigan's first possession offensively. And a tight look at Bob Zerbrugg, the sophomore quarterback. Back to throw on 3rd down. Pass is caught over the middle. Nelson seemed to have a bit of an arm injury in the first sequence of plays, but he has come back since that time. They have a 3rd and 13 play for Michigan from their own 32-yard line. Zerbrugg looking for Bean. Excellent reception by Vince Bean, close to a first down at the 40.
There is protection there. Zerbrugg has time. But just take a look where the ball is. To the outside, no chance for number 25 Sproles to get to the football. Bean catching
practice. And it is a first down.
Here's Rogers into the defense. Watch what he does. He takes on the block, spins back. Here comes Rogers. Kyle Morrell, number 5, makes the tackle. But I think Heyman made the play.
2 tight ends in the game for Michigan. Bean goes out. Caddis comes in. Third down and just about 2 yards for first. Loose ball, Gerald White. Short of a first. 10-yard line. Averages just under 10 yards per return on punts. Here's Robbins' punt. Wobbly spiral. Takes a Michigan roll inside the 15. To the 10-yard line, and BYU's back score of the game. Picking up on the last defensive sequence for Brigham Young. He says he's all right. The senior from Bountiful, Utah. 6'2", 184-pounder. So the explosive offense to the Cougars of BYU come out of the field. Led by number 6, Robbie Bosco. Number 1 in total offense in America. And they go to the ground. So to bring up the 2nd and 14, BYU. They get back to the original line of scrimmage.
Sets of brothers on Michigan's team. They're not all dressed and playing. Some are freshmen.
Third down play, and Bosco has got a first down and more to the 29-yard line. Brad Cochran was there to make the tackle on Glenn plus wide to the left side. With the backfield split, Bosco back to throw. Dumps it off to Heimuli. Has a first down and more to midfield. The draw to Heimuli. Slowed up at the line of scrimmage and loses. Delaney in the game now for Brigham Young. 2nd and 15. Bosco. Short of the intended receiver, David Ince. 17 yards per reception.
Well, they use their tight end. The outside receivers make it possible, too, because you've got Haysbert, Kozlowski, Bellini to play on the outside. They've got great moves, not great speed. And then you get a chance to use the tight end. Heimuli, that time, number 35, the fullback was out into the flat, no one within 10 yards of him.
Bellini and Kozlowski come out wide to the right side. 3rd and 15, Brigham Young. Kozlowski in motion. Might have turned upfield too soon. Bosco looking long, and it is intercepted by Michigan at the 35-yard line. Brad Cochran. Crowd is booing because Bosco is hurt on the play. And if they lose Robbie Bosco, they're in severe trouble, to say the least. Lane Fowler is the backup quarterback, and Bosco has got a lot of pain on his face. Lane Fowler is only a junior, and he is the number 2 quarterback. If Bosco cannot return, BYU has got a big problem. And that is the understatement of the night.
Yeah, but how about a great opportunity for Fowler, too, coming into the ball game? He can still throw the ball. He's got a good arm. And they've got an awful lot of receivers that can catch the football.
Fowler on the year, a 65% completion percentage. It's going to be a 2nd and 2 play. Brigham Young at their own 28-yard line. Michigan showing blitz. And Fowler wants to put it up right away. Pass is knocked down. Jim Scarcelli was the man that deflected the feet of Robbie Bosco. He's got an injured ankle. Hurt on the last play, the previous play, and testing whether or not he can stand on both feet. 17 to play first quarter. If you just tuned our way, Robbie Bosco is injured. It could be a torn ligament in his right ankle. Fowler looking for help. And manages to pick up 3 or 4 yards on the play on the scramble. Mike Mallory defending on the play. The 6'4.5", 262-pound center of Brigham Young. 2nd down play. Fowler has got the receiver. What looks to be close to a first down. Garland Rivers defending on the play. 2nd down and about 3 yards as you look at Glenn Kozlowski, the wide receiver for Brigham Young. 55 receptions on the year. Fowler with good protection. Has enough for a first down, but he stepped out of bounds, but not before we recorded a first down play. Fowler trying to get out of the hold. What a play. Anderson for Michigan makes the tackle.
They do not. They won't run the ball that much. I got to go back to that line of Lavelle Edwards. That was great. Putting in 3 more plays. Now they doubled their offensive running power.
Trevor Molini comes in at tight end, a 2nd tight end for BYU on a 3rd and 13 play. Fowler throwing back against the play. But an excellent defensive play. All right, Michigan with the ball as they come to the line of scrimmage.
All right, Howard David, I just talked with Robbie Bosco. He said his knee is sore, but he thinks he can play. He wants to get back in there. The BYU receivers were around Blaine Fowler a moment ago, giving him some encouragement. But again, Bosco says he wants to get back in there. He thinks he can do it.
All right, it's his knee.
If you're going to put him in there, they better take him in the shotgun. He's shaking his head. He can't put any pressure on his knee.
First down, Michigan, their own 34-yard line. Perryman off left tackle. The interesting thing to note, Paul, is that it's his left knee, so it's not his plant foot. So maybe he doesn't have to put all that much pressure on it, except it's got to be nagging at him.
Well, you still have to plant and use your leg when you're running back and dropping back and to stop and do the things that he has to do. You can see he's in pain. I don't think we're going to see him.
We have 13:50 to play second quarter. There is still no score in the ball game. But Bosco being out is part of that reason, although Michigan's defense has played exceptionally well. Third look on the action. This is Rogers. Short of, again, the story of this game comes down to this man's leg, Robbie Bosco's left knee. Okay, let's turn it in. Tonight is the night the trainer earns his money.
Well, you're looking at it. There is a tape job on the ankles before the game. Now they're taping the knee, pulling back. He wants to turn his foot so to take some of the pressure off it.
It's short of a first down. Last year at the Florida Sixers Bowl, we did the game between Maryland and Tennessee, and Boomer Esiason was taken out of that game early on for Maryland. That hampered the Terrapins. They went on to lose to Tennessee in that ball game. Now here we're seeing a number one quarterback, perhaps certainly one of the top two quarterbacks in America, Robbie Bosco now. Might not see any more action today. It's going to be a fourth down play and a punting situation.
I wouldn't punt.
Sikahema, the man deep. Fair catch called for by Sikahema. And it goes out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Marty Robbins punt gives BYU the ball at their own 20-yard line. There is no score in the game with 12:33 to play, second quarter. We'll be back to Jack Murphy's down here, Paul.
I'm just looking at him. Right now he doesn't appear that tape job worked. He's not limping going back, and he's throwing this ball going away, and they're going to hit him every chance they get because they know he's hurt now. I really didn't think, if you're talking ligaments in the knee, I didn't think
to anybody's defense, and this guy is to Michigan's defense, no question about it. Ozlowski comes out wide on the left side. Bosco, quick release. Kelly Smith for the first down. Jeff Akers is in the game in place of Mike Mallory at the interior linebacker spot for Michigan. Bellini in the game now at wide receiver for Brigham Young. First and 10, BYU's Cougars.
I like to know what phase one is.
It's more severe, I think, than phase two. Well, not as severe as phase two. I want to go back to one thing. Before you said you questioned whether or not Michigan should have punted on fourth down with the ball to midfield.
Not when you're a 6-5 record, you got fourth and inches.
All right, you brought up shotgun. Here's Robbie Bosco in the shotgun. He wasn't ready, but he still comes up with it. Kelly Smith. Close for Michigan.
3 straight passes in a row to Kelly Smith, and they're not covering Kelly Smith. He's coming out of the backfield. You see the linebackers blitzing 57, Tim Anderson? Someone's got to take the back coming out of the backfield. That time, no one did. Hammerstein, number 66, is a defensive tackle, but
Michigan playing a deep zone, and they're giving BYU the short stuff. They don't want to get burned long. Again, out of the shotgun on first down with the 44-yard line of Michigan. Hey, Mooley, Radley Lyles. Mike Mallory has come back into the ballgame. He was also...
Well, I got one thing right. I didn't say Bosco was coming in. I didn't think he would, but I said if he did, he'd go to the shotgun.
Bosco
at all now because they know that Bosco is sitting back in the shotgun, that 99% of the time he's going to throw the football. So the defensive lineman can tee up. What you must do at least one time is have some kind of a draw play or a sweep play.
Formation, offense, penalties decline, third down.
Where Bosco gets the ball and hands it to one of the backs just to slow down the defensive line.
Bosco out of a shotgun.
Oh, no.
And he's going to run in that bad knee and bad ankle. Well, you got to like this kid's guts. You have to.
I'm going to tell you right now, I cannot believe what they say is wrong with him is wrong with him. He might have an ankle sprain and maybe a slight knee sprain, but there's no ligament damage. Watch Robbie Bosco. He sees it. He doesn't want to run, but look what he does. As he gets the first down here, he could go down. Wrong. He's going to go back to the outside. Tim Anderson, the linebacker, misses him. He's tied up downfield. Bosco does go down, but after he picked up 8 more yards.
And a first down. BYU at the 26-yard line of Michigan. 9:40 to play, second quarter. There is no score. BYU's best penetration. Kelly Smith inside the 20 and close. Adam Haysbert, who just came into your picture with a 1
yards total offense, and Michigan 47. Remember now, they average 486 yards a game
and over 30 points. And so far it's scoreless. 9:06 to play, second quarter. Second down play. Hey, Mooley, first down, inside the 10, near the 5-yard line. First and goal, 3 tight ends in the game. Kelly Smith, touchdown.
Outstanding block by the left guard, Greg Garrett, number 59. He opens the hole to the outside. Kelly Smith in. Kelly Smith's doing it all. He's catching the ball, running the ball, but you got excellent blocking.
Mark Allen will hold the extra point try by Lee Johnson. He is 43 of 46 in point after touchdowns this year, the left-footed kicker. And he nails it. Play ball as you got to look at Kelly Smith going in for the game's first score. It is BYU 7, Michigan nothing.
With Robbie, he's limping all over the place, but look at the catch Mills makes. He's there, number 17. Hicks is also there. No touchdown, but it's 2nd and 3.
2 tight ends in the game for BYU. It's second down and goal. Hey, Mooley can't get in. Maybe he got to the line of scrimmage. Perhaps Barr has carried the ball 6 times for only 8 yards. And BYU is Brigham Young leading Michigan by the score of 7-0. We will be right back right after these messages. High atop Jack Murphy Stadium, the Goodyear Blimp Columbia. And a sold-out Holiday Bowl 7. It's third down and goal. BYU at the 2-yard line. Bosco in a rollout. He's going to try to run it in.
Fumbles
the ball at the goal line. It is in the end zone. I think Michigan has recovered in the end zone.
Here comes Mallory, but the ball just pops out of Robbie Bosco's hands. He might have had the score picked up in the end zone. That ball went into the end zone, back out. On the 5-yard line, and then the whole Brigham Young. That's fantastic.
Michigan has been hit with less penalties than their opponents throughout 1984. First and 14 play of the draw to Rogers. Excellent play by number 50. Carried the ball. If Lavelle had an opportunity to see replay, he'd know why his team is a little upset. He got up at 3:30 this morning. Let's take a listen.
Dead ball, non-contact foul, defense.
Voting America, and so did Barry Switzer, the head coach of Oklahoma, to discuss this number 1 controversy. 3rd and 2 Michigan. Rogers trying to turn the corner. Slips out of one tackler and pays the price as he crosses the 15-yard line. He's going to lose about a yard on the play. And the extracurricular activities begin to heat up. Jeff Sproul's number 25 and Rogers exchanging shoves.
First annual Cherry Bowl. Army features the best rushing attack in the nation. Michigan State strikes quickly on the ground and in the air. That's Saturday afternoon in the Cherry Bowl.
Bob Bergeron will come on to try a field goal from 32 yards away out of the hold of number 99, Todd Schlope. Trying to get Michigan on the board with 2 minutes to play. Second quarter, BYU in front, 7-0. This right angle to the left. High snap. Kick's got plenty of distance, and it's good. But there is a penalty marker thrown on the play.
Brigham Young, they got an unsportsmanlike conduct call when they should have had the fight.
Slips one tackle but can't get out of the grasp of number 25 to do. Jokic alone cut wide out. Rogers, touchdown. Minute and 13 to play, second quarter, and Michigan is a point away from...
He's 4 for 7 in passing, and all 4 of those passes out of the 4 were for first down.
The extra point is good, and we have a tie ball.
Ankle. That drive took an awful lot of time. He had to sit down there for the better part of a half an hour, getting cold. All right, here we go. We're going to see the replay of the touchdown. Just excellent blocking to the inside. Hammerstein, number 78, gets a great block pulling out. Here's Rogers in the end zone, but they went right up.
Bosco. Oh, what a reception in traffic. By number 12, David Mills. Garland Rivers defending on the play, but got to tip your hat to David Mills. He took a shot as soon as he made the reception and held on to the ball.
And bounces right back up. They're going to go with the speed off offense, I think. Remember, now if you don't realize that the clock stops to move the change in college football, I think you should by this time of the year.
BYU has but one timeout remaining. Trying to swing it out of the back.
Number 80 covering Himuli coming out of the backfield. It's just a dump.
Oh, what a grab. What a grab at the 50-yard line by number 1, Adam. First and 10, BYU at the 50. What time Bosco has to throw. Kozlowski is open for a moment and a great defensive play, but there's going to be a marker on the play. Looked to be an outstanding play by Garland Rivers. Timeout remaining, but Lee Johnson, their field goal kicker. We'll listen to the words of Wendell Shelton.
Defensive pass interference. Automatic.
Well, I agree. Bosco going out of the shotgun. First and 10 play.
And he started backing up from the line of scrimmage.
He did a year ago, catching the touchdown pass that won the game. Bosco guns it into number 12. At the 14-yard line, Mark Fellini.
They got to take their timeout. They should take it because he can still throw to the end zone. They're going to waste about 12 seconds if they don't take the timeout now.
15, 14, and counting.
Should have taken that timeout. He can always throw the ball away for the field goal.
10 seconds remaining until the half, and Bosco stops the clock with 7 seconds remaining. Mills now with 8 receptions, 70 kicking field goals this year, this from 31 yards away. Plenty of distance, and it flips the uprights. So BYU reclaims the lead, 10-7 with 4 seconds to go in the second quarter, and I come back to a minute and 4 seconds ago, and I said, do you sit on a 7-7 lead or you go for it? I guess I heard David with Paul McGuire, Mike Smith, and Greg Wyatt. We're privy to be here, and we're glad you're with us. From coast to coast, it is 10-7 BYU at halftime. Pick up ball game. BYU has all 3 timeouts remaining, Paul McGuire.
Well, you know, when you look at Robbie Bosco and you look, we talked about at the beginning how many great wide receivers he has, the guys that can catch the ball, run good patterns, and he mixes it up well. He not only looks at a primary target, he looks them all over.
Michigan's coming.
Bosco's leaving.
Bosco leads his man, Himuli, to the 25-yard line.
Supposedly a cracked rib.
He's playing with a flak jacket underneath that jersey. Looking into the eyes of one of the most courageous young men I have seen. Bosco looking, throwing, and he's got Kelly Smith at the 20-yard line. That should be enough for a first down. With a minute and 39 to play. A typical Holiday Bowl. They have called this one of the most exciting bowl games year in and year out. Play, stay with us. 17-17 your score. We'll be back in a moment. There is, with a minute and 39 to play, not only your most courageous player of the night, but your most valuable player of the night. Statistically, Robbie Bosco, 28 of 39 for 324 yards and 1 touchdown. And yes, he has been picked off a couple of times tonight, 3 times.
2 of them were tipped, remember that.
That's right. First and 10, Brigham Young at the 19-yard line as a blitz on. And the
Put enough pressure on that leg to get up, so he looked for a little bit.
Award this trophy for the most valuable player to Robbie Bosco for a truly great performance. Congratulations to Robbie and all the teammates, and happy holiday season to all from the
right side. Hemuli, number 35, was out in the flat all by himself.
Third down and 4. The ball at the 13-yard line. Penalty markers fly. It is thrown in the end zone for a touchdown, but there's a marker on the play. There's a marker on the...
It's holding, I think, against the defense, and the man back there was Brad Cochran because he's walking off the field with his head down.
Wendell Shelton has signaled touchdown. It is going to be a penalty against Michigan.
Look at this young man. You think he loves it. He stood out there and waited. And he could hardly make it off the field. And that's not fake, folks. If you join late, for some reason or other, Robbie Bosco, they say he has strained ligaments in his knee, a sprained ankle, and a cracked rib. And this all occurred in the first quarter. Robbie Bosco. The pictures tell you the story. Watch. The rush is on by Michigan. Bosco steps up. He'll see Kelly Smith going downfield in the end zone. Look where the ball is put right in his hands. Kelly Smith, the touchdown. A holding penalty against Michigan. Refused.
Johnson's extra point. It is good. With a minute and 23 to play in Holiday Bowl 7, Brigham Young leads 24-7 to 42 for 343 yards. 2 touchdowns. He has thrown 3 interceptions. You think Robbie Bosco is laying claim, the early favorite, along with Keith Byers from Ohio State for the Heisman Trophy next year?
And Bernie Kosar from my hometown, Youngstown, Ohio. Actually, he's from Boardman, but we'll claim him in Youngstown.
If Bernie Kosar decides to come back and play another year. He has made overtures that he might not come back. He might turn pro, even though he still has a year of eligibility. All right, Toyota will donate $1,000 in the name of Robbie Bosco of Brigham Young as the most valuable player to his school's general scholarship fund. Young man, I got to tell you something. You have captured the hearts of millions across America by the way you have performed here tonight.
Exactly, and you look at his face. He knows, he says it, and what he's saying is it's not done yet because Michigan, as a freshman he played. He was a redshirt for 1 year, went 2 years to the mission, on a mission, came back, and here's Marv Allen. Isn't it beautiful? Right in his hands. That's Bean there.
He had 4 interceptions in 1984. He comes up with his biggest. And we'll wait to see what the penalty, 49-yard line. The interception will win company have 44 seconds to burn off. It is Hemuli.
He'll burn it.
Still on a gut check of the first order tonight.
Yes, indeed.
And that young man in particular.
That's why they're number 1, Howard.
They very well should be number 1 by all the pollsters. And the New Year's Day ball in Miami may be meaningless. That's the end of the ball game. Final score, Brigham Young 24, Michigan 17. We're going to return to the post-game festivities. Stay with us in just a moment.
That was one of the guttiest performances I think I've ever seen.
Well, no doubt about it. It was a gutty performance by our whole team, and we never gave up. We hung in there. Just look at the scoreboard, and that says it all right there.
The pain must have been immense, though. I noticed you come off the field, hobbling off the field, and the doctors were saying the pain was excruciating.
Well, the knee wasn't too bad, but my ankle was just throbbing with pain, and I could hardly move. But, this is for the national championship, and I just had to hang in there for the rest of the game.
I talked to some of your receivers that said it really didn't limit what you can do either. They ran the same patterns that they were running early in the ball game.
That's true. We were running basically the same patterns, and our offensive line did a great job of giving me enough time, and we stopped ourselves. We had 6 turnovers, and that's the only thing that really hurt us.
I guess the most important thing, BYU is number 1.
That's for sure. That's what we're thinking, and I don't think there's no one else in the country that can be number 1.
All right, Robbie Bosco, quarterback of BYU, the game's MVP, passed for about 350 yards, about 30 completions, and the Cougars win it. Howard? Paul?
Okay, Mike, there you get a look at Lavelle Edwards, and just before they went to that camera shot, Paul, you can see the tears coming down the face of Lavelle Edwards. He's done a magnificent job with his ball club. He was on the hook
when they scored a touchdown to make it 17 all, or make it 17-16. He elected to kick the extra point rather than go for a two-point conversion with about 10 minutes to go in the ball game, and now he's being carried off the field. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, and I know not in your mind, as to who number one in the nation is right now. It has to be the Cougars of Brigham Young based on this victory tonight. I don't think there's any question about that, Howard. First of all, let's say something about Michigan. What a job they did. Everybody wrote them off and said they had no business being here. The Michigan, they came in, they had nothing to lose and everything to gain, and I think they gained some respect from Brigham Young and from the other teams around the nation. Now, as far as Brigham Young, 483 yards in total offense. They averaged, 486? So they're right on target. They didn't get the points over 30. When you look at this football team, what they had to do, they made a lot of mistakes in the first half. They made a lot of mistakes in the third quarter, the first three quarters. Then all of a sudden, this team comes back, and when they have to do it, they put it together. That's something they've done all this year. You brought up Michigan, and the way they didn't quit, they certainly had no pressure on them tonight. They were a 6-5 ball club that had taken some heat for going to a bowl game with a record of 6-5. But again, I come back to their schedule. Now, while BYU has been taking over the coals because some people will say their schedule had a little bit of fluff attached to it, certainly Michigan's schedule was anything but that. They played 7 bowl football teams. They beat a couple of them. They played very well tonight. They played with tremendous intensity. They run the football exceptionally well, as all Wolverine teams do. They played great defense. Their special teams almost won the ball game for them tonight. Howard, let me say this. I found this out last week that some AP pollsters, the guys that vote, said that if Brigham Young did not win by 10 or more, they would not vote for Brigham Young. They'd change their mind. I think here's the winning touchdown, guys. Here's Robbie Bosco, and just watching what he does, and again, strained ligaments. He's got a bad ankle. This is the one to Kozlowski. This is not the winning touchdown, is it? No, that's the one to Kozlowski. That's the one that got him even. Okay. And here comes Robbie Bosco again. Now, this may be the one. Is this the one to Kelly Smith, where the rush is on? And, yes, and he's going to step up in. Ligaments, ankle, broken rib. Look at this man. Throws just over 300 yards. It's incredible. And I must say this. When we're talking about the pollsters saying if they don't win by 10 or more, Howard, they're going to change their vote. They must be people that never played the game of football, in my mind, because I can't believe that anyone can think a team can go undefeated in 13 games, the only team in the nation, and they do not deserve to be number one. You brought up a very good point early on in the game, and we talked about it earlier this week. People that have said BYU does not deserve to be number one probably never played the game of football, only in one sense. The fact is, I'm not sure you realize how difficult it is to go 12-0 and now 13-0. I don't believe it's ever been done before. Some people have said that a long time ago Nebraska went 13-0. I don't believe it has been done before, but we'll double-check the record just to be sure. It takes a tremendous amount of effort, both psychologically, athletically, to go unbeaten for a whole season. I mean, it hasn't been done that much in the pros. Miami did it most recently. Well, I've said this, the Oklahoma team saying they should be number one. They have a loss and a tie. They got beat by Kansas. I'm not taking anything away from Kansas, but they get beat by Kansas. Nebraska gets beat by Syracuse. South Carolina gets beat by Navy. Teams that, we're not supposed to win those football games. Washington also gets beat. But, here's a team, when you go undefeated, give it to them, man. They deserve it. They are 13-0. They were number one going into the game. They won the game. They're number one coming out. Well, final score tonight, Brigham Young University defeats the Michigan Wolverines by the score of 24-17. We had hoped to be able to go into the locker room BYU. That is not going to happen, unfortunately. Thanks to Greg Wyatt and Mike Smith for patrolling the sidelines. For Paul McGuire, I'm Howard David. Thanks for watching. The final score, Brigham Young, the number one team in America, 24. Michigan, 17. Have a very happy holiday season, everybody.